Hello, I am here with Ronald Schultz. He has written some incredible books that I have right here, and we're going to be talking about. The first one is Teenage Runaway: Memoirs of a 1960s Hippy. I was like, oh my gosh, I am just fascinated by the title. So let's just talk about this a little bit. What inspired you to write this?
Well, basically, my life, I guess. People always tell me that, I should write some of the experiences I've had. And yeah, I thought, yeah, cool, but, you're busy. I mean, a lot of stuff is happening in your life, and it's a question of time. And also, it's a whole new world to explore. Writing and publication are a lot to take in, for the average human. And but it helped. First of all, I was laid off for a while. That helped because I had time. and I'd come back from Japan, and I had, savings from that, which is not everyone does when they're in Japan, it's very expensive. And so I had time on my hands. And so, I said, okay, now or never. And so I started, first of all, just taking notes. But then fortunately, I took a class that helps in the University of Washington here, post-grad class, whatever. And then, wow. And then I had to go into the tremendous blender of trying to make sense of, how to get published, because people give you advice, but the advice is dated and looking for agents who no longer exist, things like that. I spent a lot of wasted time. But anyway, then I found Tumbleweed Books is my publisher. And he's published these 4 books that I have currently, and one on contract to come out soon, hopefully. And so yeah, Tumbleweed Books, and we're doing great. I mean, we're now okay, but you're still an unknown author. You're a new guy, right? New guy in the neighborhood, so everybody wants to beat you up, right?
I think such an important point about authors really have to just do, people don't tell you. And when in some of the author forums I'm on, I'm constantly like, marketing is key. That's why I do this show. Is I want people to have a chance to have a voice and do the live stream, show some clips, and just I've already put in now some of your books in the chat. So people who are following this, whether you're listening now or listening later, authors need your help. Right? Like we just need to be able to help each other and get the word out. And that's what I would say too, is there's a lot of marketing scams. And that's why I do this free as an author helping author event.
I see that it's affecting everyone, you included. So I don't feel lonely on that score, No,
it's actually having a negative impact on my booking authors, because people are getting so much spam. So I started this in 2020, right after COVID. And during COVID, right? Because we couldn't meet in physical space, and I was launching my book. And so when I was launching my second book that was supposed to come out in June of 2020, I kept having to delay the opening. So I finally kicked it off in August of 2020 and being like, okay, we're going to do a virtual. And I used to fill up every single time I did the virtual book fair. But now it's like people get so many scams. They're like, what's the real cost? And I'm like, the cost is your time. Like, that's it. And so definitely appreciate you were mentioning how hard it is and what a challenge it is for authors to share and to get the word out about their books.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So let's share a little bit more about what have you found to be the struggles as an author. You have multiple books. First of all, you're writing, but also that kind of post writing, the marketing and getting your word out there.
Yeah, it's extremely time consuming, and it's keeping me from writing anything new for the most part now. I get a couple sentences down, and then something comes up and I got to take care of it. I mean, life is busy anyway, right? For the average person who's not a billionaire nowadays, you got to be a billionaire and you have time to do anything. But yeah, so I have family, I have grandkids and the whole bit. And yeah, life is demanding on us regardless. And but then the marketing comes in, and you can't just sit there, because I did at first. I thought, okay, now I'm ready, I'm done, but nothing happens, right? And okay, unless you're famous, and you get with one of the big, what is it, big five or big four now publishers, who actually, basically babysit you and babysit your book rather, and so on. So I hear this all secondhand. Yeah, and obviously the majority of us, don't have that opportunity. So we gotta do our own marketing pretty much, or a large part of it. Somebody, they may help, but nowadays there are more books. Oh, what was the statistic I heard? There are more books published in a year than in this country, through all means, self-published and otherwise, than happened in the whole of the last 20th century, as I understand it. If that's correct, it's frightening, that kind of stuff coming out, and it's floods. It's now, that could be good or bad. People are able to get something published, whatever that means, getting a printed book, or and nowadays with the ebooks and all. So so you're lost in the jungle basically. So you have to get out there. You have to differentiate yourself. You have to kind of be pushy, which a lot of us, we learn to be meek and mild, right? And we sit back and, oh, I wonder why nothing's happening. How come the phone isn't ringing? How come, I had a sister who did that with every guy who looked at her twice, and how come he's not calling? Well, hey, that's not the way to go about it. Being a wallflower doesn't work. I don't care what sex you are, or whatever it is. Unfortunately, you got to learn to be outgoing and stick your foot in the door.
I think outgoing or assertive is better than pushy. So let's, that's one reason why I think helping authors helps me is, it's like I'm out there, people could see my books, but at the same time, it's an opportunity to help other people and to showcase their books and their work as well.
Yeah. Okay.
So let's talk a little bit more on Teenage Runaway. I have a little place in here marked, and I'm going to read a little section from your book. And
Great.
So for those of you out here listening, this is chapter 14. I don't like to read too far into a book because then there could be spoilers. But I thought that this was a super interesting one, and I think there's a bit of a metaphor to it.
Okay.
So billiards along my way advertised lavish treats, or I'm sorry, billboards, not billiards. So much for that. Billboards along my way advertised lavish treats, restaurants and motels with enticing pictures of food for the weary motorist. These images mocked my growing hunger. I felt like an alien isolated from the great American culture that was throbbing all around me. Even out in rural Illinois, a series of billboards advertised a Dairy Curl drive-in appeared every mile or so. Pretty girls smiled at customers from some of them, reminding me that I was alone and friendless in the world. It was 3 miles ahead, then 2, then 1. And I love that we're just talking about, you're this author, you're out there alone, and you're in this, as you will, this journey, mile 3, mile 2, mile 1. You're seeing these billboards, but you're disconnected in life. And this is somewhat, I think, a metaphor of where you are as an author, is you've put your stuff out there, you're alone. So let's talk about this a little bit, the metaphor, and also what were you thinking when you wrote this passage?
Sure. Well, okay, that's the human condition, really. I mean, we're all alone, actually. I mean, if you have a twin, even, I mean, because ultimately, you have to, you're the author of your life, actually. You're creating it. You may not understand that. And therefore, you're kind of floating along, directionless, without a rudder, kind of a thing. That's, I have 5 sisters. I have a wide extending family, and I know a million people, and it's a very common situation to be in, be rudderless and just like, what's going on? How come, well, no, because you gotta grab a paddle and make it happen. And I don't care what you are into, writing or just living your life. And so, but yeah, when you're trying to write about it, of course, Okay, that's a skill actually that you have to develop or learn, and a lot of it is just by reading yourself. I mean, people need to read more, and I'm kind of discouraged by the fact. And plus, I've been out there. I belong to a writers group that we were, going around to different events and showing our stuff. And how many people say, "Oh, I haven't read a book since high school," or "I don't read," kind of a thing. And it's kind of sad because they're missing so much, and they're not developed. It helps you looking at other people's lives helps you understand your own, actually, because we're all in many ways we come off the same assembly line. there's a lot of similarities. We think, oh no, I'm not. Nobody's like me. I have to hide everything. Oh my God, no! This horrible, embarrassing stuff. Hey, everybody's doing it. What if you're so scared of revealing what you got, when you're surrounded by your species who is the same way, but afraid, just like you, afraid to admit it. But when we open it up, we have good perspective on the reality of it, on the depth of it, on the value of it, and we can make our own decisions. And plus there's dogma. Let's face it, social and religious dogma that tells us you're a sinner, you're going to hell, you're this, you're that. And it's misinformed to a large extent. I've done a lot of study, but we all have to do our own, and you have to say we have to, dogma prevents you from thinking. Dogma, like any kind of dogma, I don't care what it is, people feel, oh, I'm part of this tribe. That could be political or social, oh no, I can't do this because people in our tribe don't do that. Living in Japan showed me that a great deal, because people have this conformist mindset. If I after it happened the first time, I started doing it again and again. I would talk to whoever I was talking to, a Japanese guy, and I would say, well, what do you think as an Asian man or woman, what do you think about, oh, no, we Japanese, we are not Asian. I am Japanese. They distinguish themselves, they don't even see the larger group. And that's just not to pick on the Japanese, that's how we do it as our political party, our religion, whatever box we put ourselves in. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't belong to a social group or whatever, but we need to be open, a little bit. We need to cross borders. And I guess that's pretty much what my life has been about, crossing borders. I've hitchhiked across North Africa from Casablanca to Cairo, kind of a thing. And whatever, hitchhiked then through Europe and Asia and spend 9 months in a Buddhist monastery. And that's just a little bit, But when we cross borders, again, we learn, first of all, we are one species, we are a lot in common, we're not, despite people trying to deny it, we're so similar to everybody else, which is good and bad, but by recognizing it, we can improve on it. We're an experiment. Our life is an experiment, but we got to have the guts to go through with it. It's challenging.
Great points, and great perspective that you did a lot of these things, like you said, in the 60s. The world has changed, technology has changed so much. I used to I still teach cybersecurity, but I used to be much more a practitioner. And I would bring up to people, like, do you remember when you used to travel with traveler's checks, right? And, the thought of using a traveler's check now, like, I see you laughing, right? Like, that's just like ludicrous, right? But like when we traveled, traveler's checks and pay phones and having numbers written down, now it's like, if your phone battery dies, you're done, because like, that's your hope. But everything else is just so electronic. And you hit on a really good point I want to keep pulling the thread on, is you talk about people not reading books. And there's so much content out there, right? Like, you could just watch videos the rest of your life and never repeat the same videos. But there's something very special about reading and how you have to picture scenes. Like, you wrote the scene, and that's why I loved it, about the billboards and the walk. Can you just explain a little bit about your perspective on the difference between watching something on a screen or like reading this in a book?
Mm-hmm. Well, especially nowadays, when you're watching a program or things are speeded up, things are, they don't have time for introspection. They don't have time to think about what's happening and what's being said. With a book, you read the words, but you have an option to, I don't believe in speed reading. Speed reading, you miss it, but you read something and you have to connect with it, whether good or bad. You can say, oh, that's fucking terrible, but on the other hand, you may identify with it. Either way, it's giving you, it's helping you, to get a vision of, it could be anything, but something. It's giving you something, right? And I'm not against movies. I love them. I love watching TV. I wish, the news sometimes, first of all, it's okay. You read a book about a subject, or you watch a quick, truncated version on TV. I don't care if it's news or a movie, even, you're not getting the full story. You're not getting inside. The book has the opportunity to go in deep. If it's a good book, if you read about a country, if you read about whatever, religion, a thing, anything, it has the opportunity to go in deep, and you don't get that on a movie. Okay. In fact, movies, they have to be interesting. So they kaleidoscope time, they move time around, they move events around, and they cut it quick, and it's just the action, and you're not getting the inside story as much, and it's quick. And then did you remember that part? Oh, no, maybe, so, but I love it. But if I found that reading the book about the movie that the movie was based on, boy, you understand it better. So I recommend both. See the movie, read the book.
Yeah, and compare them. I'm going to put some links to my books in the chat for anybody out there. And my books are available for Amazon, Kindle, download free both today and tomorrow. And I'm going to kind of contradict Ronald, because first I'm going to say I love reading, and I love reading in depth, and I love being able to pause. But on the other hand, I also am an author and understand people are busy. And as you've said, there are like more books out there than can ever be read, right? So if you want to speed read through my books, and then based on your findings, leave a review. The number one thing that helps authors is reviews. And this is what impacts the Amazon algorithms. This impacts the Goodreads algorithms. So please speed read through my books, leave a review, download them for Kindle. Take a look at Ronald's books. I have two of them here, Chicago Rage, Memoirs of a Teenage Hippie here. Let's talk a little bit more on your book, Chicago Rage, because we have not talked about that at all.
Okay. Yeah, that's 17 years old. I got in, I finally, after running away and being recaptured and, put on probation and all that stuff, running away was a crime. As things have changed a lot, believe it or not, from 1967 to now, in terms of the law regarding children's rights, youth rights, whatever you want to call it. And running away basically was a crime. They'd hunt you down unless you were, especially if you're middle class or upper whatever. Of course, that's the way the system works, And but nowadays, they say, oh, kids have rights, and has a reason to run away or whatever. That may happen again. Where was I going with this now?
We were talking about Chicago Rage.
Yeah. So that was then, but then I had to wait till they gave me permission to quit school, and then I was out of the box again, and went to Chicago, and I had some money and enough to live on for a while, and I had a lot of adventures in the streets of Chicago. And getting involved with radicals, which Chicago was big at that time. The counterculture is a combination of peace, love, and rebellion. Wild, pick up the gun revolution. And so I met a young lady, and I don't know if I can say it on this thing, the MFer organization, which was almost unknown nowadays.
Thank you
people
for
don't
not
talk
getting me
about it.
banned. Really appreciate that. So
Yeah. I could maybe spell it. I don't know if I break a law
no,
doing
that's fine.
that.
I think everybody knows.
And yeah, she was a proud MFer, and so I met her, and we had a whirlwind, wild experience there, and we went to New York to join her, group, and well, you'll have to read it. I'm not going to give too much away. But as fate would have it, I got, it was a time of paranoia because we're dealing with a lot of police infiltration, So I was in the radical groups, and but I was 17, and I ended up going back to Chicago to get involved in what was, as the title of the book says, the Chicago Rage, or the Bring the War Home, let's make this real, this kind of a thing, because peaceful protest and putting flowers in the barrels of soldiers' guns wasn't changing anything, so we decided, hey, you gotta go out and break some windows. And so the idea was
really able to connect to the current world right now through this book of Chicago Rage.
It's a recurrent theme in our history. People who study American history in depth will see this repeated consistently, over not just our country, by the way, but, we're famous for it because we broke from the king. And so we kind of started a tradition of that. But yeah, we live in a wild, crazy, dangerous world. But there's a lot of love in it. This is our world. This is our place. It's dangerous, yes, but it's also home. And that's Chicago right there. Chicago is now, it's off the charts. It's unfortunate, the availability of guns. There were a lot of stick-ups that I was aware of growing up, but they usually involved knives. And they usually were not, it's just give me the cash in your pocket, kind of a thing, and we're out of here. And okay, but yeah, people are getting blown away for their sneakers. It's just not in Chicago, but it's everywhere. But Chicago, yeah, has a murder problem, or did. Now, I haven't really watched that aspect of the news for a few years now. Things change quick, but I don't know if it's changed. But there's more than we need. Okay, and here in Seattle, I'm in Seattle, especially the south side of Seattle and down below, the suburbs below that, Federal Way. That's where most of the shootings take place. Okay, we have a social problem, and then when you have the guns into it, you have free for all random shootings. Too much when they're available. It's not. I'm just not totally anti-gun, but it's a factor that needs to have some kind of limits. Okay.
Well, Ronald, unfortunately, we are coming to the bottom of the hour, and our next guest is going to be on in just a second. I do want to promote again. I have your books listed into the chat. Please check these out. I'm definitely going to go into some more in-depth reading. Encourage you to read the books. Please like, please subscribe, please donate, please purchase our merchandise. This is, once again, authors helping authors. If you would like to come on and talk to me and do an interview, this is all about me helping you, you helping me. It's all about, as Ronald said, we're a human community, and my helping Ronald features his books helps me to feature my books, and we all live in this wonderful harmony. In just a couple minutes, I'm going to be talking to Jennifer Harshman, who is going to be talking about the book Bakery. She has created these techniques to get books out and also to help and market them. And as Ronald mentioned, what's really, really a struggle for authors is for us to get our work in front of people and then to get reviews. And so the one thing I ask, review Ronald's books, review my books, take a look at them, and then also do that in-depth thing, do the reading. The reading is just crucial. Ronald, we literally have like 1 minute. Anything you want to add before we close?
Well, enjoy your life and read and enhance your life. There you go. Do that. And like Amy says, read her books, read my books, of course.
Thank you so much, Ronald. It's been just wonderful having you, and definitely would love to talk to you more on some of your philosophy sometime. It's just been a joy.
Fit me in anytime you want. Let me know.